Hey everyone! Today I'm remembering the life and career of one of Ulster's most controversial political figures, George Seawright, Ulster Loyalist Firebrand. George Seawright was born in the Drumchapel area of Glasgow in 1951. Having served his time and worked as a plumber in the Clyde shipyard, he moved to Belfast in the early 1970s, having gained employment at the Harland and Wolff shipyard. It was in Belfast that he met and married his wife, Elizabeth. Already a member of the Orange Order and Apprentice Boys of Derry, he soon joined Ian Paisley's Democratic Unionist Party, the DUP. Seawright soon gained a reputation as an excellent political organiser and agitator. He was particularly popular with the DUP's working-class base support. In the 1979 general election, Seawright served as election agent for the DUP candidate in North Belfast, veteran unionist Johnny McQuaid. Seawright masterminded a campaign which resulted in a major shock when McQuaid took the seat for the DUP. Soon after, George was given the opportunity to stand for election, and a triumphant Seawright was elected to Belfast City Council in 1981. The following year, he was elected to the new Northern Ireland Assembly, and this gave the fiery Seawright a bigger stage in which to represent the loyalist people of North and West Belfast. When Douglas Hurd, the then Secretary of State of Northern Ireland, made his first visit to the Assembly, proceedings were quickly brought to a halt, when George reminded everyone of Hurd's past dealings with the Provisional IRA Army Council. In 1983, more controversy erupted after Seawright gave an interview to a right-wing magazine in Britain in which he echoed earlier warnings by Enoch Powell on the consequences of uncontrolled mass immigration. Seawright stated, "On the immigration issue, I believe that a Britain with 3 million unemployed has no room for 3 million or more immigrants not of our indigenous stock. I believe that native-born Britons should have priority in jobs and houses. I believe that immigrants should be encouraged by the government to return to their country of origin and no further waves of aliens permitted to enter. Present government policy could well produce a racial bloodbath in the inner cities of Britain. I deplore the millions spent on aid to countries in Asia and Africa, whilst cuts are made in Britain which are harmful to our education and health services." In 1984, at a meeting of the Belfast Education and Library Board, an argument erupted over the fact that parents from nationalist areas were protesting over the fact that the British national anthem was being played after Belfast City Council run functions in certain schools. Seawright commented on the situation, saying, "Ratepayers' money would be better spent on an incinerator and burning the lot of them," adding that those involved were Fenian scum. The now respectable DUP leadership, when pressed by the media over the subject, panicked and quickly suspended George from the party, a party for which George had worked so tirelessly for over many years. When told the DUP leadership would lift his suspension if he withdrew the statement and apologized, Seawright defiantly replied, "People can think what they like of my comments. They can construe them to please themselves. They can do what they like about it, but I have no apology to make to the Republican enemies of Ulster." George was subsequently expelled from the DUP. He was later arrested, charged, and sent for trial. Found guilty, he refused to pay a £100 fine and subsequently served a 14-day prison sentence in Belfast's notorious Crumlin Road jail. The Irish News commented, "George Seawright should be sent to a remote Hebridean island." After his expulsion, a series of headline-grabbing events took place, acting as morale boosters to the unionist population in general. One such event was the removal of an Irish Republican tricolour from Belfast City Council-owned premises in the heart of Republican West Belfast. When confronted by a Republican mob shouting, "Shoot the orange bastard," George drew his legally held revolver, forcing the mob to flee at gunpoint. A charge of possessing the weapon under suspicious circumstances was subsequently withdrawn. In May 1985, George gave the people their opportunity to give their verdict when he stood as a Protestant unionist in the Shankill Court area in elections to Belfast City Council. The front-page headline in the following days, Belfast Telegraph, said it all: "Seawright in poll triumph." Not only had Seawright been elected, but he had topped the poll, smashing all other unionist opposition. It was a personal triumph for a man who had been disowned by Ian Paisley, jailed by the establishment, and vilified in the press. The Anglo-Irish Agreement was signed in November of that year, And George, unlike other unionist leaders at the time, led from the front in protest after protest against Margaret Thatcher's betrayal of British Ulster. As a result of his uncompromising stand, George once again found himself before the courts and served a 9-month prison sentence from which he was released in December 1986. Whilst in prison, Seawright stated to a Loyalist publication, "I came to the conclusion a long time ago that you could not be a career politician and a patriot at the same time. I believe that career politicians whose prime objective is to gain and hold political office within the establishment are the enemies of true patriotism, as true patriotism puts the welfare and destiny of her people before personal gain and political advantage." I noticed that another Sunday rag spoke of my political career as being in ruins as I lose my council seat through this prison sentence. My response to that is, so what? So long as I never lose my loyalist convictions. Indeed, they must be crazy if they think that by removing my freedom, they could also remove my loyalist conviction. Now, with the Stormont Assembly brutally dissolved, 5 RUC officers having to drag George from the chamber, and his Belfast City Council seat lost due to his imprisonment, a decision was taken to fight the North Belfast seat at the forthcoming June 1987 general election. But with his Shankill power base outside the constituency boundaries and the sitting unionist MP backed by the entire UUP-DUP establishment, the subsequent defeat was both predictable and heartbreaking. In November 1987, as George sat in the passenger seat of a car in Dundee Street off Belfast's Shankill Road, a Republican gunman approached from behind and shot George in the back of the head. He was fatally wounded. As he lay dying under armed guard in Belfast's Royal Victoria Hospital, George looked up and said to his wife and family pastor, "We will win." Those were the last words he spoke. George died on the 3rd of December 1987. Shortly before his death, George expressed the following thoughts in what was to be his final interview. "There's nothing new about people making a conscious decision to die for their convictions. My own position is quite clear. I am prepared to die for my Ulster Protestant convictions. Now, if I am prepared to do that, anything else I might endure is a lesser sacrifice. It's a bonus. Given that type of commitment, I am prepared to put myself wherever I am most needed." First of all, you know that you are prepared to test those convictions to the death, and that is a great test of your own belief. Secondly, by dying for those convictions, you leave behind a great example to others which would strengthen their resolve. Seawright was a powerful orator who could mobilize and galvanize his supporters. He tapped into the fears and frustrations of the working-class loyalist community, giving them a voice in deeply troubling times. His life and career continues to be a subject of debate, reflecting the broader challenges and divisions within Ulster society. So what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the lives of political figures who shaped our world. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep questioning and stay curious. Remember, history is complex, and understanding it requires looking at all sides. See you in the next video.